morning, Mr. Adams.
Morning, Mr. Chief Justice and members of the Commission.
Are you well?
Okay, just need to take a breath.
But it could be better.
Could be better.
All right, okay. What are your qualifications?
Chief Justice, I have a BProc degree from the University of the Witwatersrand,
Yes.
and I'm admitted as an attorney of the High Court of South Africa, the Gauteng Division, and I also have the right of audience in the High Court.
Yes. And when were you admitted as an attorney?
I was admitted as an attorney on the 11th of July 1989, and I attained the right of audience during 1998.
1989. I was just wondering, as an article clerk, how much were they paying back then?
I started off
there was a stage when people were earning as little as 200 rand per month.
well, I was in the fortunate position that I was earning the princely sum of 450 rand per month.
Oh, yeah. So you say 1986 you were admitted?
No, 1989.
89, I'm sorry. And so you have been an attorney for how long?
Just over 27 years.
Where and where?
I have practiced as a partner in the firm Lindsay Keller in Rosebank, Johannesburg, since shortly after I got admitted during 1991. I joined the firm.
Yes.
On the 2nd of January 1991, and I became a partner round about 1994-95, and I became the managing partner, I think it was during 2006. So I've practiced in this firm for most of my work life.
Yes. I've heard you say that you have a right of appearance in the High Court. How often have you appeared in the High Court?
Chief Justice, in my firm, I act almost as an in-house counsel. Before I got the right of audience, I did all of my own appearances in the Magistrates Court, and subsequent to 1998, I do all of my own appearances in the trial court for starters, and in motion court. Whenever I have a motion, I appear there in my own matters. But I also appear in matters on behalf of other attorneys in my firm. We represent the Road Accident Fund, so I am in court in the Johannesburg High Court almost on a daily basis during term, and I run trials. I've been running trials in the High Court since shortly after the year 2000.
Judges never used to be that friendly to counsel, at least a good number of them. Did you find them to be friendly this time around?
Well, I think they finally come around to the fact that attorneys are, are as good as advocates. I think ironically, when I appeared in my first trial, I think it was round about 2000, the whole atmosphere was very antagonistic towards us as attorneys, unfortunately. The irony was that the judge that I appeared before was also one of the first attorneys to be appointed to the bench. But it didn't make a huge difference. Didn't make a huge difference. I still felt the antagonism. But yeah. Nowadays, I think it's a lot better, Chief Justice, thankfully.
For how long have you acted in the High Court?
I commenced acting during April of last year, and I've done in total, inclusive of the last 6 weeks that I did in the Pretoria High Court, I did in total 28 weeks, scattered over a period of time since
the
April.
13th of April 2015.
Indeed so, Chief Justice.
And how did you find that acting experience? What can you tell us about it? Has it really prepared you for what you are applying for permanent appointment?
I think so, Chief Justice. I've been honored and humbled by the fact that our JP had given me the type of work that I believe have prepared me for a position on the bench. I have covered most, if not all, of the spectra that can be done. I obviously started off in the appeal courts, sitting with senior judges in criminal appeals. I then subsequently did a few stints in the trial courts in Johannesburg. I did unopposed motions. I did opposed motions, and I've had one special motion. And in this last stint, I also did 1 week in the urgent court in Pretoria. So I'm fairly confident that I've had the necessary exposure and the necessary experience to equip me. And if one couples that with the 24 odd years as a litigation attorney practicing in the High Court, I think that I've got the necessary technical wherewithal to deal with this very pressurized position on the bench.
Is it much better now? Are you calmer now? More relaxed?
I am.
Thank you. JP?
Chief Justice.
Thank you, Chief Justice. Morning, Mr. Adams.
Morning, JP.
We're not here to hit you or kill you. We just want to test your competence, whether you can be a judge.
I appreciate that.
Thank you. I think the CJ has covered a number of the areas I wanted to cover with you, but I don't know if the Commission has given you your spreadsheet of the work areas you covered during your acting stints.
I haven't received it, JP.
But just in short, the spreadsheet I have, which I've shared with the JSC, says 26 weeks. That excludes the last 2 weeks that you did in Pretoria.
Yes, yeah.
Right. But you've done 6 weeks in the unopposed court. I want to ask you about that. I think the spreadsheet is in front of you.
That's it, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, the reason I ask you about the unopposed court, how would you rate that court? Is it a difficult court? Is it an easy court to sit in?
No, I think unopposed is a bit of a misnomer in that it is a highly pressurized court, JP, as you would know. It also it deals with a multitude of very important matters. In Pretoria, just last week, Friday, I had in excess of 60 matters on my unopposed motion court roll. And
60 in 1 day?
In 1 day, yeah, and this was just for the 1 day. So I think in the end I ended up with 65 matters, and although it was unopposed, these dealt with very important and significant issues and required that I obviously read all of these files beforehand, and amongst all of those matters, we also have, for example, opposed Rule 43 applications as well as a few opposed applications for summary judgment.
Yeah, I ask you that question deliberately because you're the managing partner of Lindsay Keller, and the type of work you came across as an acting judge in the unopposed court, is that the type of work your firm does?
We do a fair amount of motion court work and litigation in my practice.
Right. My experience as JP and when I sat as a judge, although I've never sat in the roll call court, that's the DJP's domain, but my experience is that in the roll call court, that court is always packed in the morning, but the faces you see are black. And you won't know that because you've never sat in that court. But in the unopposed court where you've sat, the faces are predominantly white. Am I wrong or right?
No, I think you're 100% spot on, JP. I also know that the faces at trial roll call is mainly black because that's where I practice also a fair bit. I'm in at trial roll call most mornings when court is not in recess, yes. So I can confirm that.
My view is that's a reflection of the briefing patterns we have in this country.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, But you would also agree with me that in the unopposed court, there are two important criteria that a judge must have, is to have read the files and to know a varied field of law areas. Am I correct?
Absolutely, that is quite correct.
So you'd rate it as a difficult court.
I most certainly do.
You've done a week in the agent court this last term.
Yeah, in Pretoria.
How
JP.
did you find it?
I was told that it's a lot more pressurized than I had experienced it. We didn't have that many matters on the roll. I don't know what the reason for that was, but it still required that we prepare thoroughly and properly for the matters that were on the roll prior to the commencement of the week. We didn't have many matters crossing my desk off the street. I think I just had one matter against the Department of Home Affairs. But on the whole, I had to deal with matters that was on the roll beforehand. So
Okay.
I experienced it. My experience in this court was pressurized, but I was able to handle it.
Right. You've also done 4 weeks in the opposed court. That's another difficult court, isn't it?
Yes, I think that, yeah, that rates on the same level as the unopposed motions, except that more often than not, unless a matter is resolved, you are required to write a judgment in most of the matters that are not resolved, because they deal with fairly complicated and sophisticated matters.
And that's the court where judges pick up reserve judgments.
Definitely.
Right. Just one last question on the spreadsheet. You acted for a whole term in the 4th term of 2015.
Yes, I did, JP.
That was a normal judge's load for the term.
Yes.
And I know you specifically asked if I could put you for the whole term. After that term, what was your view about permanent placement on the judiciary?
JP, it just reiterated my view that being on the bench is a very pressurized position. It requires a lot of hard work and a lot of dedication, and unless you put in the necessary time, energy, and the hours, you run the risk of accumulating reserve judgments. But it was a challenge that I cherished. I quite enjoyed my stint there. And I'm pleased to say is, that after the completion of my full-term stint, I carried only 2 reserve judgments.
Right. Just going to your list of judgments that I asked you to prepare, you've disclosed a total of 38 judgments in that spreadsheet.
Yes, I did.
Now, taking account of the fact that you did a full term, you've acted in difficult work areas, I could only come across one judgment where it took you somewhat of 3 months to finalize your judgment. That's the matter of Cook versus Hesper Impala. All the others were delivered in a shorter period.
Indeed,
How were you able to do that?
JP, I think beforehand I prepare properly and thoroughly, and I read in the opposed matters, for example, I would make sure that I understand the issues involved, and I also familiarize myself with the legal principles involved. So by the time the opposed application is argued, I would have formed a prima facie view, whilst at the same time keeping an open mind about the submissions that is going to be made at the trial, at the hearing of the application. And as soon as the hearing is completed, I then immediately commence writing my judgment.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Adams. Thank you, CJ. I've got no further questions.
Thank you, JP. MEC?
Thank you so much, Honorable Chair. Good morning, Mr. Adams.
Morning, Commissioner.
I can see that you matriculated in 1981. And you're one of the two people that passed matric on.
Yes, yeah. We were at a school
Nade.
in Ennerdale. We had 18 students. I think we were only the second matric class of that school. Ennerdale had just started out as a development. And yeah, the pass rate that year was 6 out of the 18, so it was a lot less than what we have nowadays.
Okay.
It was just the signs of the time.
No, my interest is your participation in transformation agenda. Because if in 1981, you know, in the 1980s, this country was literally on fire. In 1981, up until 2006, when you joined the Black Lawyers Association, does it mean that you didn't have any interest in any institutions or formations that were promoting transformation?
No, absolutely not. Whilst at university, I was at Wits University, and I was a member of the Black Student Society, and also by that we were then members of the United Democratic Front at that stage. So we were very much involved in the politics of the 80s, in particular during the 1984, when I was actually staying on campus that year with the tricameral elections. So I was very much involved.
But why only join Black Lawyers Association? It's your choice. I'm just wondering.
No,
my interest.
I
why only
understand,
join
and I
them
accept,
in 2006?
I think after I commenced practicing, after I was admitted as an attorney, I basically launched myself into the practice of law, and what I did was concentrate on training other lawyers and candidate attorneys, and that took a fair bit of my time. So yeah, maybe I ought to have, and I should have been involved a lot more. But my involvement was in training my candidate attorneys that came up through the ranks as in my capacity as an assistant in Lindsay Keller.
You say that you believe empowerment should be applied to all levels of any organization, management, or professional level. What does that mean?
Let me see. What it really means is that often there's a perception that you need to transform at the level of management or at partnership level, which was one of my priorities. But in addition to that, I also made sure that at secretarial level, at administrative level, that we brought in that we brought in, trained and developed blacks into those positions. You can imagine when I got to the firm in the early 1990s, it was almost lily white. If you walk into my firm nowadays, it is a totally different scenario and a totally different setup. And whilst I'm not going to take credit for all of it, I think that we've done well to transform and to change the face of my firm in the manner that we did.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Acting President Maya.
Nkosi, Chief Justice. Good morning, Mr. Adams.
Morning.
I just want to follow up on the analysis of the work you've done at the High Court through which your JP took you. I noticed that you have not done any work in the criminal court, in the third court, and the tax court. Do you think that lack of experience, although I see that you have done a fair, in respect of criminal work, you've done a fair amount of criminal appeals, do you think that that lack of experience might disadvantage you if we are appointed?
I don't think so, ma'am. I think the important, as far as criminal law is concerned, in my early years, I actually did a lot of criminal trials. But in addition to that, whilst acting, I also did a few criminal appeals, which I suppose is not as good as running a trial or overseeing a trial. But importantly, in criminal matters, an important issue is being able to assess the facts in the matter, and that is a skill that I believe that I have acquired over the many years as a litigation attorney. So I don't think that I'm disadvantaged at all. As far as the third court is concerned, I think that's the equivalent of our special motion court in Johannesburg, and I have done one special motion whilst acting during last year.
That experience?
That was a very difficult and complicated matter, and it's one of the judgments that I've mentioned in my schedule. Again, I found it very challenging, but again, I think that I acquitted myself well enough.
Thank you, Mr. Adams.
Thanks.
Thank you, Acting President. Commissioner Singh.
Thank you very much, Chief Justice. Good morning, Mr. Adams.
Good morning.
Just two short questions, which emerges from the CV that you've submitted to us. I was very interested to see on page 3 that you held positions as, well, a long time ago, from 98 to 2003, member of the German Junior Chamber of Southern Africa. And in 1998, you was a director of the German Junior Chamber of Southern Africa. What did this entail, the German Junior Chamber, and what kind of work did you do there? It's the first question.
When I joined Lindsay Keller, Commissioner Singh, there was a big German connection. The senior partner at the time was a German South African, and we had very close links to Germany and the German business community in South Africa, and there was a requirement, and we obviously did a lot of work on behalf of the German South Africans, and it was suggested that I, on behalf of the Lindsay Keller, join the German Chamber of Commerce.
All right, the second question relates also to your CV on page 7, item 7. You say that I think that all things considered, I have at least the technical wherewithal to make a competent judicial officer. What do you believe are the other characteristics that make up a competent judicial officer, and do you believe you possess those characteristics?
I think one needs independent thought. One needs to be decisive, and you need obviously integrity and the ability to separate yourself from the matters that you deal with.
And CJ, do you think you possess these qualities?
I most certainly do, Commissioner Singh.
Thank you, Commissioner Singh. You are excused, sir.
Thank you very much, Chief Justice.